was born gifted. It wasn't something that my mommy or daddy choose for me, and definitely not something I choose for myself. Most things I learn very easily and quickly, and some things just make sense in my mind, so I don't need taught. Like when you see food on a plate, I see energy, I see nutrients, I see vitamins. When you turn on your PS4 to play a game, I'm thinking how to design the tallest game ever. My mind is just spinning and spinning, like the disc in the console. When you watch the waves of the ocean, I'm thinking about the moon. It is gravitational pull on the earth. I want to read what it'll be like on the moon. Sometimes it's hard being gifted, but it's really a gift. I get to learn all kinds of things. I get to read books and ask questions. I can understand the world and help people too. I am a natural leader. I am unique. I am talented. I am gifted.
Of an interaction of three clusters of traits. Those clusters being above average ability, task commitment, and creativity.
I think that gifted and talented means that you have more experience in the subject and you're over average.
I think that gifted and talented is that you are gifted with a talent that some people may not have.
It means a lot to me because I like having a big responsibility.
Especially chosen by your teacher, and you can help people with it.
I think being gifted and talented is having a better chance to do some other things that other people will not have a chance to do.
We learnt that Thomas was gifted in a range of ways. Like all parents, we had a sense early on that he thought and acted a little differently to his peers. Thomas seemed to think about things differently and asked questions that you might normally associate with an older child. And just his general level of activity and curiosity, which was insatiable.
There were indications that Ruby was gifted when she was quite young. She started talking quite early, and friends had made comments that she seemed to be doing things differently than other kids that they knew. She was always seeking information and asking lots of questions. She had a lot of interest in learning letters and reading, and she used complex language.
Some of the early signs that a child might be gifted are often the verbal ones, so a very broad vocabulary. The child using words accurately that you wouldn't expect they might use. For a child who might have non-verbal abilities, they may have the capacity to work a video, program the DVDs, play around with computer software, even at very young ages.
Around about 3 years old, Matthew basically just started playing the notes on the piano, and we were going, wow, without,
Yeah, he wasn't reading any notes, he was just playing the notes, and in his mind he could hear that the notes made a different sound, and then he actually formulated the tune just based on hearing the notes and knowing which notes made which sound.
Gifted children are identified in two ways. You can do a formal way, which is an IQ test, or you can do it informally, which is to gather up a lot of information and observations from a range of people, and it may be teachers, the rest of the family, and your own observations of your child.
Parents are often confused as to whether their child is gifted. That's because the term is often used in different ways. According to the NAGC, gifted children are those who demonstrate outstanding levels in one or more areas. This can include structured areas of activities such as mathematics, music, and language, or the motor skills required in painting, dance, and even sports. While IQ tests can help identify giftedness, most kids are commonly identified by the observations of families, teachers, and friends.
There are some characteristics of giftedness. For example, is persistent, and that kind of correlates with the work that's been done by Joe Renzulli about task commitment. Students that really see and have an interest and want to stick to it. In fact, some of these students are really hard to really get away from that interest. I always remember a story about a mother telling me that she could not leave her child alone in the house. And I said, well, how old's your child? And she said, 16. And I said, 16, and you don't leave him alone in the house? And she said, once he has his nose in the book, he is so persistent in trying to finish that particular book or chapter of the story that the house could burn down and you couldn't really disturb him. So that's kind of an exaggeration of the trait, but it certainly does describe it. We have another trait of giftedness, to be inquisitive. These are the students that ask all the questions of why. Why does this happen? Why doesn't it happen? Why is the grass green? Why do the birds fly? How come snakes have to squiggle in the ground? And all of those ideas are rather interesting. They're provocative. Some have answers and some do not. But the inquisitiveness is trying to figure out answers to why. Another characteristic of gifted students is the idea of having a keen power of observation. I tell the story, and I know some of you have probably heard the story before, about coming to class one day late when I was teaching. At the time I was teaching a 2nd, 3rd grade combination, and I had been so late in the morning that I had really not put on my makeup, and I was driving and putting on the makeup. And when I got to school and teaching reading, and the kids were sitting around me in a reading group, one of the students said, "Oh, look, you're missing a stripe." And I said, "What do you mean a stripe?" And I looked down, I wasn't even wearing a striped outfit. And the student said, "You have one eye without a stripe." I think she really meant eyeliner, but nonetheless. Okay, so sometimes their sense of keen observation is really kind of embarrassing, but the sense of keen observation taking in more of the world, being able to see all those details. We also know that gifted students have the ability to display a richness of imagery and imagination. Talking about what ifs and what could be. And some of that is, just playfulness that we cultivate. Some of that is really learned behavior that we can teach. And then we talk about gifted students and their ability to express original ideas. I think I'll just put it right over here, because these are actually companions to one another. And we can also talk about the trait of having interest. Now, interests are rather interesting because sometimes they're interested in things that are more mature than the student's chronological age. Sometimes those interests are also interests that come out of lack of experience, wondering what it feels like to walk along the beach when you haven't been to the beach, or interests that come from experiences. Having been, for example, with Dad, and Dad opens up the hood of the car and they see all this stuff under the hood and want to know how it works and why it works. And then, last of all, we have the trait of being one who asks unusual questions and wants to find out more information. Those are the kinds of questions that sometimes teachers complain about. These are the kinds of questions that students often ask that we don't have answers to, or sometimes are open-ended enough where there are no answers.
Who's this?
This is my self-portrait. I did this when I was 8 years old with acrylics.
8 was a big year for you. Oh my goodness, I don't know what 9's gonna bring, but this is huge. So this is a self-portrait of you. This is how you see yourself? What did you do, take a picture, or how do you do yourself?
Well, I just take a mirror and I look at myself, and if I don't find the right color, I just dab it on my nose and see if it's the right color.
Oh yeah, I do that too. You're obviously gifted, right? Where does this come from?
It comes from God.
It comes from God. Thank you so much.
You can't play that with a blindfold on, surely.
and this is?
Iodine.
Iodine.
It is bacteria.
Kills bacteria.
Yes, it does kill bacteria. And this is?
Taurine.
Chlorine. And this is?
Strontium. It's in fireworks to make them wet, and also during the dark paint.
What is strontium? What is it?
Strontium.
Sorry. Tell me about this.
The heart.
The heart.
Yapping gets your heart pumping, which improves cardiovascular health. You make people's hearts happy, but also healthy, because you make them laugh. So you're kind of like a heart doctor.
I am a heart doctor. That's really clever, but also... All right, what's that?
The intestine.
The intestines?
Your intestines help break down food into fuel for your body.
Oh, I did not know that. I knew that they did things, but I didn't know they broke down the food. I thought that was something else. This is the...
Lungs.
The lungs?
Your lungs are like sponges. They're made of tiny air sacs, and around each one is a net of blood vessels. And they take oxygen from the air that you breathe in